the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Amanda Starantino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. We are jumping straight into a look at your weather forecast for tonight as snow is forecast to arrive in just hours. Here's Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory with that. Kevin.
And Mark and Amanda, I present to you the forecast. Looks like 1 to 2 inches of snow through tomorrow. It will be around for the morning drive. That is part of the timing that complicates this. It's our first widespread snow of the season. So after midnight in southern Indiana, the snow begins. It will drift north overnight, probably reaching the metro area around 4 a.m. Temperatures are all set for this to be able to stick. They'll be below freezing in the upper 20s. We'll watch for slick roads, especially the untreated roads. They'll be out working after 11 tonight. Get those bridges and overpasses all ready. There's the light snow sitting southwest of St. Louis, still west then of the Mississippi. That will move to the east. Overnight, into the morning. There's the blue of the light snow and still hanging out, especially in the eastern half of the state, early afternoon tomorrow. We'll talk more detailed about snowfall potential and what to expect after the snow stops coming up.
See you soon, Kevin. Thank you. Hospitals across central Indiana are now working together. Their goal is to make sure the local response here to the pandemic is as effective as possible. WRTV's Stephanie Wade spoke with hospital administrators from around our area, and they tell her there's a potential looming crisis. Tonight, they are asking for your help.
We have actually had record numbers of daily patients with COVID in our hospital. Nearly every day for the last 2 weeks.
Hospital heads from Ascension St. Vincent, Community Health Network, Eskenazi Health, Franciscan Health, IU Health, and more, addressing today the current state of the pandemic in central Indiana.
In fact, Indiana has unfortunately earned the dubious distinction of being a national COVID-19 hotspot.
Local hospitals are facing a potential crisis, they say, as the surge of COVID-19 cases continues unabated. Beds, ventilators, and other support systems are being stressed to their limits.
We have patients that are extremely sick, and this is our second wave.
As recently documented by healthcare workers' video diaries.
Our team really is worried. We're seeing the second surge.
IU Health has over 1,100 employees on quarantine alone.
This work is physically and emotionally exhausting, and you can see it in their eyes.
This morning I'm tired, but I'm excited. Both of those because last night the email came out allowing frontline providers to schedule for their vaccination.
But news of the vaccine to be delivered and distributed Wednesday to IU Health Methodist Hospital as one of the 5 hospitals in the state first to receive the vaccine brought excitement.
It's the first time we can go on the offensive with this virus. And so we've been playing defense. We've been hiding.
I heard from my staff the hope, the light at the end of the tunnel for the vaccine. Oh my gosh, it's just there. But we also are frightened.
Some still scared about the back-to-back holidays doubling the existing surge of patients.
We realize that there are unfortunately still dark days ahead. And while the vaccine offers light at the end of the tunnel, that tunnel is long. So we need your help.
Doctors say, like other aerosol-transmitted viruses, COVID-19 lasts longer in the drier winter air. That, coupled with the cold weather forcing people indoors with poor ventilation, they're begging people to socially distance and limit who you spend time with to your own household.
Thank you so much for doing your part. Together, we can curb this. Together, we have the means to stop the spread of this disease.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
Well, hospitals cannot require their staff to get the vaccine based on language in the emergency use authorization. They also won't separate employees who received the vaccine from those who didn't. but instead will protect all of their employees the same. It's still unclear whether the vaccine reduces your symptoms or actually reduces the ability to spread the virus. It's another very deadly reporting day. The state reports 129 more deaths of people with COVID. Those deaths occurred over the course of November 8th through yesterday. The number of new positive cases is the lowest in several days, 4,347. Those cases were recorded between November 8th and yesterday. That is the first time that number has been below 5,000 since November 27th.
More than a year after the red line started rolling through the Circle City, new technology that INDYGO says will help riders board faster is finally about to roll out. The MyKey system was supposed to be in place not long after the red line was finished. Now it's about to debut as INDYGO ridership increases following a dip during the pandemic. WRTV's Cameron Riddle shows you how carrying less change could mean a big change for those who rely on Indy's transit system.
Next southbound bus to County Line Road.
INDYGO will soon launch its new way for passengers to pay for their ride. You could call it a game changer for bus rider and bicyclist Nick Robertson.
I don't carry a lot of cash. You know, I almost charge everything. So if I thought I'd need to take the bus, I have to plan ahead. I have to make sure I have a couple dollars in my pocket.
With INDYGO's new MyKey system, there's less fumbling around with cash and coins. You can pay for your ride with an app on your phone or the tap of a card. It'll make life easier for Robertson, who, when he's not working from home due to the pandemic, tries to travel as light as possible since his commute to work downtown is half bike ride, half bus ride.
If I had MyKey and had a pass loaded up, just ready to go and click right up when I get on the bus or on the platform, I think that would make a difference for me.
If you think you've heard of MyKey before, you have. The concept caused issues during the launch of the Red Line last year. Delays from the vendor, Flowbird Group, kept INDYGO from being able to collect fares on the new rapid transit route until a temporary system was put in place. With vendor issues resolved, INDYGO is ready to launch the new system in early 2021, hopefully speeding up service on all local and Red Line buses.
We are so excited about this. Like the things that you mentioned, speeding up boarding, it's a more convenient service for our riders. And it also helps us to get better information about, where people are boarding the bus, what their trips look like.
Every tap of a card or click of a phone feeds INDYGO's operating budget, of which 10% comes from bus fares. That's a smaller amount than usual because of the pandemic. The rest of the budget is filled out by federal and state funds. But as riders like Robertson start riding the bus again, they'll be greeted by new technology.
You know, having ridden other transit systems that have had this operation for a while, it was a bit of a change to come back here and have to fumble for quarters again.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
When the MyKey system is rolled out early next year, INDYGO will still accept cash. Despite the setbacks from the pandemic, INDYGO's ridership is climbing back up. Normal November ridership would be at nearly 800,000 passenger trips. In April, once stay-at-home orders were in place, INDYGO recorded just 281,000. Ridership increased over the summer, and last month, INDYGO recorded more than 407,000 trips.
When it comes to getting the vulnerable vaccinated against COVID-19, it's all hands on deck. Still ahead this half hour, how one big name is hiring hundreds across the state to keep up with the fight against the virus. You're watching WRTV. Right now on WRTV, some Hoosier families are relieved the Supreme Court has declined to hear a case from Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill.
He was looking to reverse the lower court decision that allowed both partners and same-sex couples to be listed on their child's birth certificate.
Our Cornelius HOCKER explains why one couple was watching the case closely.
Jonathan BALASH says there are lots of emotions when the government debates on the rights of his family.
I'm not feeling like our government is truly being inclusive of us, even though we are a legally recognized, couple.
Jonathan and his husband Jacob have been together for almost 20 years, and their son Truman is 8 years old. So they feel like it just makes sense for both of them to be listed as parents on all their sons' official documents.
It comes down to equal rights. For heterosexual married couples, there is a presumption of parentage that is permitted to be put onto the birth certificate. And so that same presumption should exist for legally married same-sex couples.
While there was frustration the birth certificate case was brought up again, Jonathan says he was encouraged by the court's call to stick with the precedent.
The Supreme Court already has expressed an opinion on birth certificates. They did that in one of the marriage decisions earlier.
Monday's decision is one less thing Jonathan and Jacob have to worry about as they raise their son.
I'm thrilled and surprised, but absolutely pleased that the Supreme Court came back so quickly to reject looking at this.
Despite the stance by the Supreme Court, many gay and lesbian couples have had or are looking into second parent adoptions for that added bit of security if similar cases are brought up and decided differently. Working for you, Cornelius HOCKER, WRTV.
Attorney General Curtis Hill's office says they were disappointed the court declined to take up the case. Hill had argued that the previous decision on the case would threaten parental rights based on biology.
Counselors say they've rarely seen numbers like this before. Coming up, how schools are handling the high amount of kids who need mental health assistance and what's fueling the need for help.
And there are a couple mentions of snow in the forecast. The most significant is tomorrow. We'll talk about the other as well coming up.
Hiring Hoosiers tonight, CVS has 700 open positions across the state that they need filled. Nursing homes and long-term care facilities will soon receive the COVID-19 vaccine, and CVS is preparing to help with that process. As WRTV's Troy Washington explains, they want all hands on deck when it comes to going into those facilities and getting Hoosiers vaccinated.
The teams out there are offering to do way above and beyond what they've ever done in the past, just because they're leading with heart and they care so deeply about all these patients.
According to Jeffrey Lackey, as the pandemic ramped up, CVS employees just kept stepping up.
We needed to back up our front lines. You fast forward to the fall, and all of a sudden we're facing into the flu surge, which is called the twindemic with the COVID-19, to do massive amounts of unprecedented amounts of flu vaccinations. We did 20 million, more than 20 million, which is nearly twice as much as we normally would do in a given year.
He says because of the demand, the company has worked hard to keep their doors open and minute clinics operating. But now they need even more help with the next phase of helping to get the COVID-19 vaccine out.
Within Indiana, the long-term care and skilled nursing facilities are where the patients are at. So that's where our farm techs and our pharmacists are going to be going out to those patients and entering into those facilities.
And they are willing to train medical professionals who want to lend a hand.
We are continuing to hire individuals as pharmacists, pharmacy tech, and RNs in particular. There's one thing that I always go for first. If you resonate with our purpose, helping people on their path to better health, and then you reflect our values, that's the first test.
Right now, the emphasis is on hiring workers to go into facilities to give the vaccine to those who are most vulnerable. But once the vaccine is available for wider distribution, here's how it'll work. Through CVS, vaccinations will be done by appointment only. And since it's a two-part vaccination, at registration, you'll book your first and second shots, then you'll get reminders via text and calls so you won't miss either. Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
To learn more about these jobs, click on this story on hiringhoosiers.com.
We'll start with some holiday lights. Sarah Marsh sending in this picture, just beautiful. And as you kind of soak it all in, don't forget to look in the window. See that magnificent tree on display. Right now, the ground is devoid of any snow, but you may add a little coating, which will make that even more beautiful. Christmas Nights of Lights out at the State Fairgrounds, they talk about the fact that the snow or rain would reflect all of those lights. So they got a couple million lights out there. You can imagine what that'll be like. Temperature 27 in Kokomo, below the freezing mark just about everywhere. That sets the stage for snow to stick starting tomorrow morning. Light snow, 1 to possibly 2 inches. There are your morning temperatures with light snow ongoing for the morning drive. As we get to the afternoon, we may see a little mix, some rain mixing in. Where we see the mix, that would cut down obviously on some of the snowfall totals. The snow will taper off in the evening, probably by 7 or so in the metro area. It'll take a little longer in eastern Indiana. Here's the latest. Now, these model numbers just updated, but staying in that range that I was mentioning of 1 to maybe 2 inches. You see right now it says 1.4 for Indianapolis. With temperatures coming above freezing, the roadways will turn wet, I think, in the afternoon. By the time we get to noon, you're at 34. That will improve any road condition issues. There's your widespread snow first thing in the morning. We go to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, eastern half of the state along Interstate 70, I-74 towards Cincinnati, even I-65 from Seymour south. You're starting to see a rain-snow mix changing to rain down along the Ohio River. Then we wave goodbye to that weather system and set the stage for a dry Thursday. Mostly cloudy, 36, a little sunshine back in the picture, 40 for your Friday high. There are the temperatures around the region tomorrow, enough that we start some of the melting of the snow from the morning hours. Thursday, temperatures about the same. We'll start to see a sustained warm-up that will take temperatures back into the low 40s over the weekend. A rain-snow mix possible Saturday. Temperatures as warm as 46 on Monday. And we've got some days there with a mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Mark?
Kevin, thank you. The pandemic is having a major negative impact on the mental health of kids and teenagers across the country. That's according to the CDC. Mental health professionals and school counselors say that's true here in Indiana as well. Our ALYSSA Donovan explains what's being done to help students and how to recognize warning signs in your kids.
As students continue to adjust to hybrid or virtual learning, lack of social interaction with friends and lack of extracurricular opportunities is starting to have an impact. Counselors within schools and mental health professionals in hospitals are seeing an increase in kids who need help.
This is how the mind appears when it's calm, bright, serene and happy.
This is a video students at Clay Middle School watched last week during their study hall period. It talks about mindfulness and how stress can impact students, giving them tools to use when they're feeling overwhelmed or a sense of anxiety. Something Brittney Coates says they're seeing quite a bit of this year.
We are definitely seeing an increase of students talking about anxiety when it comes to either their own personal relationship or experience with COVID.
Coates is one of 45 counselors and social workers within Carmel Clay School District. She says in her 8 years working with students, this has definitely been her busiest year.
Definitely an increase in the frequency that we're meeting with them.
And it's not just in our schools. IU Health has also seen an increase in those under the age of 18 coming in for mental health issues.
Any place from 11 to 15 or 16 is where I've seen most of the increase.
Dr. Ann Gilbert says most are coming in with depression and stress. In the past, she would have seen maybe 5 or 6 kids a day, but that number has doubled.
We're hospitalizing more of them too.
Gilbert believes the lack of socialization is a big part of the problem.
One of the most important things that kids do in their life at this point in time is form relationships.
And social workers like Coates are trying to help address these issues with students as much as possible. Coates is meeting with students daily, in person, over Zoom, and through a messaging system in their online class portal.
So we are definitely seeing that there are students who wouldn't typically reach out, but they are reaching out now.
While her school district is working to normalize conversations around mental health with videos like this, she's also encouraging parents to talk with their students at home. I'm ALYSSA Donovan, WRTV.
There are some warning signs that a child or teenager is struggling with depression or anxiety. This includes losing interest in activities they used to be interested in, no longer talking to friends, and changing in eating or sleeping patterns. If you notice any of these, reach out to your school counselor or to a mental health professional. We'll be right back.
Light snow from first thing in the morning into the afternoon, when it may mix a little bit with some rain, especially to the south. Temperatures up to 35. That will improve any slick road conditions for a while before dropping below freezing again tomorrow night. Amanda.
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. We'll see you at 11.